Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, everybody? Well, thanks for joining me in today's podcast video. You know how I like to get my video podcast started, always with a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who's still suffering. So, if you would, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alright, well, let's get started. Man, how's it going, everybody? It's a pretty night out tonight. I'm out here, out here in downtown San Antonio. I chose this little spot in the river while to do the podcast video. I just got back from one of my NA meetings that I attended, and I went to a certain meeting today that I hadn't attended at this place, and it was a new place, so I wanted to go check it out and see how it was, and lo and behold, man, every time I go into a place, I seem to know somebody. So yeah, it was great. Reconnected with a few people that I went to, had the chance to go through Lifetime Recovery at one point, and that's a rehab center that I went to, and spent about almost 70 days there. And a couple guys that were at this particular meeting happened to go to Lifetime when I was there, and so it was great to reconnect. And yeah, so anyway, the meeting wound up being a meeting with the about the misery that has to do with your life in addiction. And I took the liberty to get a definition of misery, and I Googled it, and this is what I got. And I'm going to read the definition that it had there, and it gave a sentence along with the definition. So one of the definitions was a state of suffering and want that is the result of poverty or affliction. And it says war brought misery to thousands, and just reading that alone, in my journey of addiction and recovery, man, when it said war brought misery to thousands, man, when I read that, I counted that as like a death, like the war on of drugs, and how it brought people, it takes people to addiction, and what that whole result is, and how many people wind up, either not making it, or wind up homeless, wind up addicted to drugs, or wind up in prostitution, or in just incarcerated for doing whatever it is that you do to maintain and the addiction that you're into. And yeah, so I can really relate to that. And another definition had it's a circumstance, thing, or place that causes suffering or discomfort. And in the sentence that it used there is the joy and miseries of life, is what it said. And man, how many times in my addiction was I joyful, but then at the same time miserable, that I was in the world of addiction, that I was addicted to something, and that I was trying to mask these miseries. And the way I masked those feelings and actions was through addiction and through picking up that drug and using it. And man, it's just I could really relate to that definition there. And another definition that they had was a state of great unhappiness and emotional distress. And gosh, man, how many times could I remember myself being so unhappy and felt like I was just emotionally just drained. And the sentence that it has here says for that definition is, my former boss made my life a misery. And how many times have have I in my addiction, you know, blamed other people for me, you know, to pick up and use and that sort of thing. And I you know, I can just you know, always remember that. I think that's the cunning and baffling part of being an addict, that you just try to talk yourself into always. There's always needs to be an excuse for you to use, for you to pick up, for you to go do something stupid, for you to stay in that miserable setting, because it's almost like, I know that me personally, I've always, if I felt sad or depressed or mad about something, then I always tended to do stuff to keep myself there. And you know, as addicts, we tend to beat ourselves up a lot, and that's one of our defaults. Is that, you know, we go to what's comfortable for us. And for me, if I was ever in those modes, and I always talked myself into staying there, and the way I did that was by using. And so it was like you hated the misery, but you needed the misery at the same time. You know, can anybody relate to me there? I mean, it's like you hated doing all that stuff, but you just didn't know how to stop, because your actions and your default and your mind setting always reverted to what made you feel comfortable, and that was to use. And you know, I didn't know any other way. And you know, it's when I sat there today at this meeting, it was my first meeting there. It's at a place called Somos Milagros, downtown San Antonio, and you know, it's a great group of people there. You know what I mean? And by hearing the stories and the conviction in their stories these people were sharing, I could really relate to that. You know, these people were genuine in what they were feeling, what they were saying, and they were compassionate about, you know, wanting to help somebody else, wanting to give away what has helped them along the way to get into this world of recovery and positivity and sobriety. So I was really, you know, moved by a lot of the stories that these people shared. And you know, and to be quite honest with you, you know, these people were no better than me. You know what I mean? It was just like if I was looking at myself in the mirror, and you know, it just reminded me of, you know, me being at a meeting one time in 2005, sitting there and listening to this guy give his story and telling the audience how he, you know, was feeling, and what things that he was going through in his life, and all these miserable things that he was, you know, telling us in his story, and how he got out of it, and what happened to him, and how he did it. And you know, he said, you know, that he heard somebody's story and, you know, decided that he was going to take the first step and try to do what that person was talking about. And man, I felt the same way when I heard his story, because it was things that he was saying, and he was talking directly to me, it seemed like, because he was going through things that I was going through. And the only difference is that this man was sitting here telling his story, and he was happy. I could tell he was happy, and I could tell he had compassion in how he was telling his story and getting his message across. So I was just like, man, you know what? What is the difference between me and that person sitting up there giving his story? You know, he's a man just like me. He's about the same age like I am. He's got a family, I got a family. He's got kids, I got kids. He's got a job, and I got a job. You know, he's going through life and doing things, you know, work and church, and I'm doing that. You know, why is my life so miserable? Why do I feel like this? What is it that he's doing that I'm not? And that day I decided to make a decision, and I decided to talk to this man and take some notes down, and I want to know what you're doing, because I want to do that, because I want what you got, because you seem happy, man. And this guy that was talking here today at this meeting that I went to, and he was like, man, I feel like I win the lotto every day. And he goes, and I'm literally, and he takes his freaking glasses off, and he's like, look at me, look at my eyes, and when I tell you this, he goes, I feel like I win the lotto every single day. And it's not like this, it's not the money, it's in here. He goes, that's how I feel. I feel like I have won $1 million on the daily. And and me going to this meeting, and this is why I go, because I go to these different meetings because I have to feel that. I gotta get that reminder. I gotta get that reconnection on the daily basis so that I maintain my sobriety, and I can in turn there do my due diligence and my service work by giving away through these video podcasts, through what has helped me along the way to stay sober and to get in this world of recovery and positivity. And I can do, if I do that and giving away what has helped me through these videos, then that's my due diligence service work. Because if I can just reach one person, if one person can react to what I'm saying and take that first step to recovery, well then I'm good with that. I feel good about that. And it starts here first. You know what I mean? And that's why I do it, because I have to attend these meetings. I have to go to these counselors. I got to go to therapy. I got to do all of that stuff, because the minute that I stop, the minute that I don't, is the very first minute that I go back into full-blown addiction. And I don't want to do that. I'm happy where I'm at today, because I'm clean, I'm sober, and I'm able to share my story through these video podcasts and reach someone somewhere. And if I could, save one person, or that if I can motivate one person to move forward in that into the world of recovery and positivity, or if I can spark that person that's who already in recovery and ignite them again to get moving and to start sharing and to start doing the service work, then that's more people that's out there relaying the message. That's more people out there sharing their story. And every time somebody shares a story, you bring another person into this world of recovery and positivity. And that's our goal. That's the goal that we have, is to do that, so that we can pick up all our brothers and sisters and bring them over. And but it starts here first. It starts here first. And it starts with oneself, and giving that up, and being ready to have that spiritual awakening. Because I know that I had a spiritual awakening, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear the God stuff and everything, but let me tell you something. There's no way that anybody has stayed happy and sober and recovered without a recovery community and without a faith-based community. With those two things intertwined, man, you can conquer anything. You can save yourself. You can save thousands of more people. And it's amazing the domino effect that has when you do that on a repetitious basis. Because I do that on a repetitious basis, because when I used to when I was in full-blown addiction, I did things on a repetitious basis to stay in that world of misery. All my boundaries that I set were negative and unhealthy boundaries that were revolved around misery. And when I changed that, when I started putting myself in healthy situations and recovering things, because that's what you do when you're in recovery, is you start recovering things that you had lost throughout your life, to the addiction and to the whatever form of addiction it is. And when you start recovering that stuff, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more rewarding your life starts getting. And you'll be able to help more people, and it just becomes a whole lot easier like that. And I don't do these things just to do them. I do them because I'm compassionate about it. I feel good about it, and I feel that this is what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? I first and foremost take care of myself here first, and anything that comes through my mind. And if I set any negative thoughts in my mind, well then negative thoughts equals negative action. But if I do positive thinking and do things on the positive, on the daily basis, on the repetitious basis, like I did when I was in full-blown addiction, well then those kind of things start happening. Then you start getting all these healthy things that start happening to you. Your life starts getting better. Your mentally starts getting better. Your spirituality starts connecting. It all starts forming into this one big old great ball of happiness, and it's amazing, and it's great. And I was grateful to go to this meeting today here with the people from somos milagros, and that means we are miracles. It's they're saying it's a Spanish quote, and it's called Somos Milagros in San Antonio, Texas, and what that means is we are miracles. And man, were they miracles, man? I could feel the love, I could feel the compassion in that little room that we were in, and it was just great. And you know, it reminded me of a day that I was sitting in a meeting back in 2005 when I heard that guy's story, you know, that I could relate to, and it was something that, you know, I'll never forget, you know, because after listening to that gentleman's story, that led me to a 10-year stint of sobriety, and you know, I need to share that. You know what I mean? So that's why I do it, because you know, somebody in one of these rooms, somebody in one of these, you know, somebody watching the video, the podcast that I do, maybe they need to hear that, and maybe they'll get on a 10-year stint of sobriety and then keep on going. You know what I mean? So I know that man, I know that it could be tough. I do, because man, I've had days in my addiction days that were just miserable, and I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I thought that that's where my life was going to wind. I mean, I figured, okay, well, I guess this is how the rest of my life is going to go. You know what I mean? Because you know, it just wasn't going anywhere. I mean, everything I was doing, everything I touched was turned into a negative. Everything. And I was like, man, how does this change? And you know what happened was that I forgot. You know what I mean? I forgot what got me to the recovery. I forgot what kept me in that happiness, in that recovery, in that positivity. I forgot all of that stuff. And the minute I forgot was the first minute that I went back into addiction and stayed there. And it's real easy to talk yourself into going back, and it's real easy to put them blinders up and think that you have no way out and that there's no way that your life can get any better. But I'm here to tell you as living proof that it is, that there's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. You know, I'm a veteran, and when I was in serving in the U.S. Navy, I was stationed on a ship called it was ship USS 1073, the Robert E. Perry, and the Robert E. Perry had this motto. The motto of the ship was, "We shall find a way or make one." And I use that today still. You know, I shall find a way or I'll make one. And when I do that type of thinking, to keep that type of positive mentality within, these healthy and positive boundaries start just setting themselves up in my life. And it's just like amazing how that happens when you start doing that. You know what I mean? But it all starts here. It all starts here, and it all starts here, because your mental state is going to be the result of your actions, and every action manifested into a mental thought first. So if you think positive things, if you believe that things can get better, then guess what? They will get better. And it's just like a friend of mine out at the Lifetime Recovery would say on Friday nights. His name was Greg, and he'd say, man, if you do nothing, then guess what? Nothing happens. And man, that is so true, Father, that if you do nothing, nothing happens, because recovery isn't lazy. Recovery isn't for the lazy. The recovery is something that you're going to have to get up and do some legwork. You know, by no means is recovery easy, and by no means is recovery going to be handed to you. You have to get up and do the work. But, you know, I can guarantee you that the results will be a whole lot better than using that energy like you did in the negative, when you were setting in Hakubatsu, when you were in the darkness of addiction and doing those unhealthy things day after day after day, killing yourself and doing these negative thoughts came out to negative results that you were doing in actions. Then, you know, in the world of recovery and positivity, it's work, but it's healthy work, and it's fun. It's fun work, healthy work. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You start getting into these, you know, you start making new friends, and new boundaries start setting up for you, and they'll just come, they'll just unfold in front of me. It's like when I went to this meeting here today, I was at the library. I got out of the library and I just decided to start walking down the road. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna take the bus, but on the other side of downtown. I'm gonna go for a walk. And I wanted just passing by this place. And then I saw some people, and then so I Googled it, and I was like, man, that's where they're having a meeting there. So I walked in. You know what I mean? I just happened to walk in and run into the place. You know, so it was great. You know, it's funny how God works. You know what I mean? So it was a motivator for me. It motivated me to, you know, stop and do the podcast video, because I originally was just saying, I'm gonna just walk and, you know, take, you know, and then I'll get back and to where I'm staying, and I'll just do the video podcast there. But no, I'm glad I did it now, because it was fresh in my mind, the things that were going on in the meeting, and I feel good about it. You know what I mean? So I just figured that I needed to share that and get that out, and hopefully it resonates with somebody, and somebody's maybe those. I'm hoping these were encouraging words for somebody today. So. You know, I always say, you know that I can't do anything, and I can't spread the word and keep the message going without your help. So at this time, if you would please, you know, tap that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and if you do, you know, by subscribing to my channel, you'll be helping another veteran, another homeless person, another addict come into the world of recovery and positivity. And I really believe that. So I need all the help that I can get to share my channel and get it out there. You know, so all you got to do is tap the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and know that you'll be helping somebody. And well, I guess that's it for now. On When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.